continue talking now about where we left off last week, which was talking about the Leila Seder. We're going to talk about how to do the Seder properly for Pesach, and as well as the Kashrut of certain products that need to be known, right? The person has to know several things regarding what products to buy, what products not to buy, and so forth and so on. There are a lot of novel ideas over there that we can say, because most people think, that everything requires a certain amount of supervision and so forth and so on. It's true. The truth is that it does require, but there are certain things that don't require much. Don't really, according to the bare bones halacha, doesn't really require much. So we'll try to understand, right, all these things, how it works. So the first thing is like this, right? Let's get to the order of the kashrut. Right? A little bit talk about kashrut. So what about the matzot, right? What kind of matzot do you buy? Where do you buy that from? Where, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of boxes it is, what kind of matzot it is. It's machine matzah, it's handmade matzah, all these things, right? So number one thing a person has to know is that for the night of the Seder, now we have here in Chutz La'aretz and outside of Israel, we have 2 nights. So for those 2 nights, when you do the mitzvah of eating the matzah, so you have matzah shemura, right? What does that mean, matzah shemura? What does that entail? So it entails like this, right? That a person has to eat matzah, which was shmura. What does that mean, shmura? What does that word mean? It was guarded. That's what it means, right? Shmura means guarded. So what does that mean? What were they guarding it from? That from the time that it was reaped from the ground, right? Reaping. They cut it off from the ground, the wheat. At that time, before that, the rains will come, right? There'll be rains, maybe, all kinds of things. It'll get wet. But as long as it's attached to the ground, it's not a problem that it gets wet. Once it gets detached from the ground, right, now it's a little bit more dangerous. What does that mean? That if it gets wet now, it's going to become chametz. You understand? Because the water makes it leaven. It's like once the water gets on it, after a certain while, it's going to get leavened. So therefore what happens is like this, right, that we will have to guard it, that matzah, that it should never get any water on it after it's reaped. This is what we call matzah shmura. That from the time of the reaping, we are careful that it should have no water coming on it. So what does that mean? No rain, right? No washing in the factory, right? No soaking, no all kinds of things like this. In the factory, they have all kinds of processes, by the way. When it comes to food products, they soak them, they wash them, to make them clean and presentable, and nice and hygienic. Everything is nice and beautiful today. The factories they do a great job, But when it comes to matzot, no water can get on that, right? When it comes to the flour of matzot, of the wheat, everything has to be waterless. So what does that mean? No washing, no soaking, right? No rain, all these things. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that too. But I'm talking about the shmura matzah, right? Exactly. Shmura matzah means that no water whatsoever. Until when? Until it gets baked, right? Well, until the baking process is done. Now, what about afterwards, right? Once it's baked, so now let's say if I put some water on it, I soaked it in water to make it soft, or I fried it up in some oil, or let's say I put it in my soup, right? To make it soft, nice and easy to eat, to digest, whatever. So I put it in my soup. So is that allowed to do that? So the Rambam says like this, right? Once the masa is baked, now water can get on it all you want. There's no issue there anymore, right? Why? Because once it's fully baked, it will not become chametz anymore under any circumstances, no matter what happens to it, right? Once it's done, that's it, right? So therefore, right, the halacha is, especially according to the Sfardim, right? According to Ashkenazim, it's a little bit different. We're going to talk about that. But for the Sfardim, we hold that once the matzah is baked, there's no issue about putting it in the soup, soaking it in the tea, right? You want to put it in your coffee, whatever it is, God knows, whatever it is you want to soak it in. Once it's baked, no problem to do any of these things. So the only problem is before it went to the oven, right? Before it went to the oven to get baked, at that time you got to watch out not to make it wet. So what does that mean, right? Once you put the water in it, you start to do right, exactly. You start to knead the dough, right? So you have 18 minutes to get it into the oven. If you wait longer than that, you got a problem. What does that mean? As we said last week, right? That it depends on if you were working it. Because if you're working it, it's not going to become chametz. So basically, right? You got to get it in there on time. Either you got to keep working it or do it before 18 minutes. Get it in there fast as possible. Once it gets in there and gets baked, that's it. We're done. The danger is over. So now, right, this is the Shmura Matzah. What does that mean? That matzah that we do for the mitzvah. What does it mean, the mitzvah? The mitzvah means that's the matzah that a person eats, the first thing that he does when he makes hamotzi, in Allah Chilat Matzah. This is the first matzah that he eats. To do the mitzvah. There is a mitzvah on Pesach night to eat matzah kazait. What is that? Half an egg, right? Olive size. So that's about, in weight, it comes out to be about 30 grams. This is from the Torah, a person has to have that amount of matzah. The truth is, right, this is according to Tosfot, but according to Rambam and Rif, you don't need 30 grams, you need 19 grams. Much less than that, right? So what does that mean? That according to them, the olive is smaller than what Tosfot says. The truth is, right, that if a person did according to the Rif and the Rambam, he certainly fulfills his obligation. What does that mean? He only ate 19 grams. He fulfills his obligation. Why? Because the truth is, right, if you look at the ratio sizes between the eggs and the olives, as we said, right, we're talking about the mid-size olive. There's a large, there's small, there's mid-size. So the mid-size olive is the one that we have to go according to. If you really look at today's mid-size olive, we're talking about not more than a third of an egg. So basically, it's according to what we see today, right? It seems like the Rambam and the Rif were right that it's only a third of an egg, the olive, the mid-size olive. But the custom is to do anyway, like Tosfot, just to make sure, to make sure, just to be on the safe side. That's what also comes out in the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch also seems to say like that. What does that mean? It says in Shulchan Aruch that if you didn't eat 30 grams of any food, right, you shouldn't make a blessing after that. Why is that? Because we're not even sure if you had a kazait, if you had the amount that you have to have. So it says Tosfot, it says the Shulchan Aruch, like the Tosfot, you shouldn't make a bracha blessing until you had 30 grams, right? But the truth is that that's regarding the blessing. But regarding the measures itself, right, for other purposes, for other mitzvot, the truth is, that probably, right, according to what we see today, the Rif and the Rambam is more correct. But anyway, the point is, right, the custom is to do like 30 grams, just to be on the safe side.
Now, 30 grams, you could have it by itself or with anything?
Right, that's the question, right? So the only thing we do basically is we put some salt on it, That's about it.
That's for hamotzi.
Right, for hamotzi, right. We put some salt on it, whatever. But the truth is, if he added something else, it doesn't really take away the mitzvah. It doesn't really, right? As long as he had the matzah, and he tasted the matzah, he got the taste of it, whatever. Even though sometimes he didn't get the taste of it, that also can be sometimes he just swallowed it. Let's say, right? That's also can be, right? But the point is that he got the taste of the matzah, he swallowed it, he ate it, right? Whatever. So that matzah has to be matzah shmura, that kazait that we're talking about from the Torah. By the way, the sages also added, right, to do another kazait as well. So meaning what? That according to the sages, a person for the first hamotzi that he makes, Allah Chilat Matzah, he should have try to have like 50 or 60 grams of matzah. That first, eating that he does. So how much does that turn out to be? It turns out to be, practically speaking, with those round matzot that we have, shmura matzah, they're quite large. They're bigger than the machine matzot. You know what I mean? So therefore, the size would be, for those matzot, about, for sure, if you ate like a half of one of those matzot, for sure you've done
your obligation.
Above and beyond, right? Not even, right? It's above and beyond, right? Exactly. That's for sure, right? So the truth is, right? But if you had only, let's say, 1/3, that's also good. You know what I mean? Let's say we'll tell you like this, right? Lechatchila, try to have like a half, let's say, just to be on the safe side, whatever. But the truth is, if you had only 1/3, you fulfilled your obligation. That's enough, right? So if a person has a problem with eating too much matzot, it hurts his stomach, whatever, can't tolerate, so 1/3 will be, right, suffice of those large matzot. These are a little bit smaller, by the way. These machine matzot are about half the size of those brown ones. So basically, if a person was having one of these square things, so you should have like a whole matzah to fulfill the obligation. One whole matzah, that would be the obligation. We're going to talk about that, by the way, if that works or not. We're going to discuss that. But the point is like this, right? That you have to have this much. Once you've had that, fulfilled your obligation to have, right, kazait of matzah, then once you get to the meal itself, now they bring the soup, they bring, right, the dishes, the meat, the chicken, all this kind of stuff, right? Side dishes, all kinds of stuff. There, you can eat the regular matzot as well. You don't have to have any more shmura matzah, the whole meal. The whole meal doesn't require shmura matzah. The only thing that requires shmura matzah is just the first one, the first eating. That's it. Once you've done that, You don't. Let's say you don't like that matzah, right? Let's say it's very hard for you, or it's very, it's very grainy, right? Whatever it tastes, it's like wood, It's like, it makes the stomach like, whatever. So like, it feels like steel in there, solid steel. So because of that, right, the person sometimes wants to, not to have too much of that. So basically, once you've had that amount, that's it, you're done. Now you can take any kosher matzah you have, and you use that for the rest of the meal. So then what happens is, right, that once you're done with the meal, they say, right, that there's also another mitzvah, which is to eat the afikoman.
Yeah.
What is that, the afikoman? The afikoman is that the middle matzah that you broke into half, right? So half was eaten then in the beginning, and then half was hidden away somewhere, whatever, right? There's all kinds of customs, where to hide it, how to hide it. We'll leave that to you, right? Your family, right? The rituals that you have, right? Family customs you have. But the point is, right, that once the meal is over, let's say you were eating for a while, you had all the meal, everything, you had your dessert also, let's say whatever, you had dessert, everything, right? That's it. You're done. You had your drinks, this, whatever. So they say, right, now there's also mitzvah to have one more kazait of matzah. What does that mean? Afikoman. This afikoman is coming as a remembrance. What does that mean, right? The truth is that in the time of the Bet HaMikdash, they didn't eat this matzah at the end. What they did was they had korban Pesach. In other words, that sacrifice that they brought for the Pesach, they would take and eat that meat from the korban Pesach. That would be the last thing that they would taste during the meal. Since we don't have this korban Pesach today, right? We don't have Bet HaMikdash, we don't do sacrifices, right? So therefore, this came now to be a replacement for that. That's why the rabbi was made. This is a replacement. So what does that mean? The afikoman is the last thing that you eat. What does that mean? You take another 30 grams of matzah, right? That's the last thing you have. That also should be, right? Preferably matzah shmura, right? Also, that matzah that you're eating, the afikoman, not 100% necessary, but it's better to have the matzah shmura. So he takes that matzah. That's the last thing he eats. 30 grams. Even if you had, let's say, 19, right, grams, that's also enough, as we said, right? That's also possible to do. Right? If a person wasn't able to eat too much, he's already full. 19 grams, he also fulfills his obligation, according to the Rif and the Rosh. The Rif and the Rambam. So basically, right, for this, but the rest of the time for Pesach, you have all the 7 or 8 days, depending on where you live. You can eat any kind of matzah you want, right? Any kosher matzah for Pesach, kosher for Passover. You don't have to have shmur matzah during the rest of the holiday, right? For some people, it's too expensive. For some people, it's just too much on the stomach. All kinds of issues that they have with that stuff, right? So basically, right, what does that mean? That this matzah that we eat, the box matzah, which is not shmura, right? That matzah is not guarded from the time of the reaping. It's not required to be like that. So what do? Basically, they take flour, which was not known to get wet, right? In the market, like, just any market flour. That's what they used to do in the old days. And they would make matzot from that. That was the regular matzah that they all ate throughout Pesach. They were not eating matzah shmura all throughout Pesach. Some people, by the way, today they do that, as a stringency. But it's not required to do that, Some people want to do this kind of thing, whatever, but some people don't like this kind of thing. So the point is, right, that the rest of Pesach, you can have any matzah you want as long as kosher for Passover, has a decent supervision. That's the idea. So basically, you need, right, for the first 2 nights to fulfill your obligation. Let's say you need about, I don't know, depending on the size of your family, right, from 2 pounds of that matzah, right, shmura matzah, or let's say if you have a very large family, maybe 2 kilos, right, whatever, something like that. That's about it. You don't need more than that. That's you fulfill your obligation with that with this amount. Because that matzah is very expensive, you know what I mean? We're talking about a very high price. So not everybody can afford to eat that throughout the whole Pesach. It's going to cost like an arm and a leg, this kind of thing. It costs like, like a lease for a car, Quite expensive. Whatever. So depending on how much you can afford, right? So there's also another thing, right? Which is that there's also now in the market, the last few years, Baruch Hashem, recently, last 10, 20 years, we also have now, right, something which used to be in the old days, the good old days. It made it recurred, it made a comeback. Right? What is this comeback? The comeback is the soft matzot. Right? What does that mean? It's prevalent, right? It's proven from the Gemara that those matzot that used to eat in the times of the Gemara were soft, were like pita. You could bend them. They were not hard as a rock like we have today. Okay? So What does that mean, practically speaking? By the way, this is a big advantage to eat these soft matzot. You know what the advantage is? Because it's very easy on the stomach. It doesn't hurt your stomach. It doesn't give you a stomach ache. It doesn't take you like a few days to adjust. You know, you could just go straight into it. It's not going to harm you. You know, it's not going to give you any kind of issue with your stomach. So therefore, right, a lot of people, especially the Sephardim, because the Sephardim and also the Yemenites, right, Temanim, they have a custom to make these kind of matzot ready for a long time, you know, in their countries as well, right? Pita, you know, they had a pita. It was soft. By the way, how do you make it soft, right? What's the secret, right? How do you, what's the hocus pocus, you know? How do you make a matzah soft? And how do you make it hard? Right? That's the question, right? So the truth is, right, it really depends on one thing, basically. It depends on the ratio of water and flour, you know? The more water you put, the softer it becomes. That's the idea, you know what I mean? So what happens is, right, today, the hard matzot that they make, there's a high ratio of flour there, and small ratio of water, right, small amount of water. This is the reason why it comes out hard like a rock. But if you're making it, right, with a lot of water, and by the way, when you make it with a lot of water, it's also cheaper. You know what I mean? You're saving money as well, because the flour is very expensive. Water is for free, basically, you know, more or less, right? More or less. Not exactly for free, but no problem. So, okay. So, the idea is like this, right? That a person who wants to eat this kind of soft matzot, these soft matzot, are also, they're also shmura, they're also guarded, right? These soft matzot, the ones that are made today. So therefore, right, these soft guarded matzot can also be eaten for the mitzvah matzah as well. This is the advantage, you know. They're all shmura. These the ones that were made today, right? As far as I know, all of them are like that. You have to look in the box, right, to see what's written there. But the point is, right, that a person wants to avoid the stomach issues, uncomfortable eating, uncomfortable this, has very good to eat this soft matzot. Very recommended. I've been doing it already for about 10 years. I'm very. I fell in love with this thing, right? And my rabbi used to do it also, man, alav shalom, because you know he was Iraqi, and the Iraqis used to eat this also in Iraq as well. You know what I mean? There's a long time custom for this. By the way, there is also dispute amongst the Ashkenazim as well regarding these soft matzot. What is that? They're claiming, some of their rabbis claim that they should not eat these matzot, the Ashkenazim. You know why? Because they don't have a custom like that to make them soft. You know, so it's like against their custom, whatever. You know, but the truth is that some rabbis argue with that, and they say that doesn't really depend on your custom. You know, it's just a matter of, like, you know, the ratio of flour and water. What does that have to do with any custom or anything like that? It's just a matter of how you cook, how you bake. You know, just not really, you know, a halakhic issue. It's more like an issue of just, you know, how you conduct yourself. You know, basically. So therefore, right, the truth is, even Ashkenazi who wants to eat this soft matzot, he has what to rely on. There are some rabbis who allow that, and I personally would also recommend for anybody to eat this. I don't care if he's Ashkenazi or Sephardi or Temani or whatever he is, right? He can eat these soft matzot with no concern, as long as it's got a good hechsher, right? It's a good, kashrut, whatever. That's the only thing we need, right? Otherwise, we have no problem with these soft matzot. There are also one advantage, right? Another advantage is, as we just mentioned, that even though these soft matzot are shmura, so meaning what you can have them even for the mitzvah of matzah itself. There's also another advantage. Since there's more water in there, they're cheaper because they cost about half the price of the regular shmura matzah because there's a lot more flour in there, you know, in the hard ones. Those hard ones have a lot more flour. So this is a double advantage, right? Two birds with one stone you kill over here, right? What does that mean? No stomach ache, and also you're right, cheap, easy on your wallet. You know what I mean? So that's basically a very nice thing to do. The truth is, by the way, here in America, these are not so available, these things. There is one bakery I know that does it in Brooklyn, you know, Syrian guys. I know there's one rabbi there who does it. And there's also people who import them from Israel as well, you know. The issue is like this, right? With these matzot, they have to be frozen. They have to be kept frozen. Because once you defrost them, they lose their freshness, you know. That's their nature, whatever. So therefore, right, the person who buys them, he puts them right into the freezer, you know. That's the way to do it.
How do you defrost it?
Take it out like 2 hours before, you know, the Haggada, and you're good. You know? Something like that, right?
Automatically defrost.
Right, exactly. Just like any other bread that you may have in the freezer, whatever. It's a pitot, whatever. Okay, so this is the idea, right, with the soft matzot. So soft matzot, really, it's a very nice idea, right? There's also another good thing, right, which is they have some thin ones as well, like, you know, which are very light, so they're easier on the stomach as well. There are some companies making them very thin and also very white, like not a lot of whole wheat there. So therefore, right, it's very clean, like a baguette, it's like a matzah baguette. So it makes it like more easy also to digest when they're thin and light like that. Whatever. Okay, that's just a recommendation. The point is like this, right? Now, what about the machine matzot? Right, or any machine matzot, right? The truth is today, most of the matzot that are made are from machine. So it's a whole story, by the way, behind this. With the machine matzot. When they first came out, we're talking about, let's say, it's like, let's say 80 years ago, or 70 years ago. It was first introduced into the market, this whole concept of making a matzah with a machine. So what happened was, right, that there was a big dispute amongst the rabbis whether they're kosher or not. Some rabbis were very vehement and they said they're not kosher at all. You know what I mean? And they had all kinds of issues with the matzah, right? But the truth is today, right, in most circles, they're very accepted today. The truth is, right, some even say that they're even superior to the handmade ones. What does that mean? That the machine makes them very even, very, very, in a very, very right, in a very good way, in a very good manner, efficient, and everything is like clean and good and whatever. So therefore, the truth is, right, that most communities today are not against the issue of having a machine matzot, right? It's considered to be very accepted today in all communities. So therefore, if a person wants to buy, right, machine matzah, especially for the rest of the holiday, right, as we said, right, which he doesn't need shmura matzah, so he can buy. These are not shmura. Most of the machine matzahs are not shmura. So what happens is that he buys them, right, and he can also buy them with the hechsher of the rabbanut, right? What is the rabbanut? This is the Israeli rabbinate, right, which is a like government operated system there. You know what I mean? So there are some Jews over there who don't like the government. They're anti-Zionist, whatever. So they try to avoid anything which is with the government. You know what I mean? So therefore, there are some people who say, if it's this rabbanut, I don't want to have that stuff. I don't want to touch that stuff. These people are Zionists. These people are whatever. They're whatever heretics, whatever. But the truth is, that the rabbanut actually in Israel that supervises the matzot, they're doing actually a very good job there. So the truth is, if a person wants to eat these kind of matzot that come from Israel, so the rabbanut over there, most cases of rabbanut, there are some, also some variations of that, but in most cases, the rabbanut over there is doing a very good job. The big rabbis, especially the Sephardi rabbis, right, have been there, visited those plants, have seen them, right, and investigated and examined, and they told us, right, including my rabbi, Maran, he used to tell us also, and also his son, the chief rabbi. They told us that these matzot are very, very good. They have no problem with kashrut, right? And therefore, right, the person doesn't be concerned about anything about that. There's no concern whatsoever. But the question is like this, right? Regarding the matzot, there's also another issue, which is, what about? There's also a third, right, type of matzah, which is what? It's a machine made, but it's also shmura. They're using flour, which is shmura, right? But they're making it with a machine, right? So the question is like this, right? Regarding this kind of matzot, which are shmura and also machine made. Okay, that's very clear. You're allowed to use them for the rest of Pesach. But what about for the first mitzvah, right? Are you allowed to use them for the machine matzot, which are shmura, or not to use those, right? That's the question. So the truth is, right, that there's a dispute regarding this. What does that mean? The dispute goes like this, right? That they say one thing, right? That these matzot, which are made for shmura, for that mitzvah of eating the first 2 nights, it has to be made lishma. You know what that means? With intention, right? In other words, when a person makes it, he has to have intention that this should be for the mitzvah of matzah. That should be his intention. So therefore they say, right, what kind of intention is going to have a machine, right? Machine has intentions, right? So therefore they say, right, since the machine has no intention, it's just a robot, basically. So therefore you cannot use this kind of matzah.
Okay,
Right?
Yeah. Shmura matzah, who is it made by?
Many companies, many bakeries make them.
Physically, who is it made by? Jews, non-Jews, Mexicans?
It has to be made by Jews.
It has to be made by.
Yeah, yes. We're not going to trust people who are not Jewish.
No, maybe you hire a Mexican.
You're right. It should be also made by religious Jews, by the way. People who are religious also, observant Jews. Because otherwise, there's concerns. Maybe they're not so, they're not so fastidious with that. They're not so, whatever. So the point is like this: that is that matzah good? It's machine made. So where's the intention? So the truth is, right, that there are some poskim also who say a different way. They say that the person who presses the button for the machine has intention. So therefore it's considered to be like this intention, right? So therefore, right, we have a dispute over here regarding this. So therefore they say, right, practically speaking, the big poskim, they say that a person lechatchila should try to avoid using this for the first mitzvah. Because we're not really sure if this is like really intention or non-intention. right? Well, no, we're not sure because once you press the button, that machine goes for like the whole day, you know. So the question is that's that first intention that you had. You press the button, does that go the whole day with the machine? You know, something like that, right? That's not so not so clear. So that's the reason why we say, right, that better to use handmade matzot at least for the first mitzvah. You know, like we said, the first 2 nights for the motzi matzah. We should use this kind of right for the achilat matzah. We should use for the handmade. But if a person doesn't have handmade, let's say, right, couldn't the place where he went, he lives in the boondocks somewhere, you know, I know, somewhere in Wisconsin, God knows what, right, Louisiana, he lives in places like this. There's no shmura matzah over there handmade. So if you can get machine, you should use that. It's better than nothing. Because there are some poskim who say that you're allowed to use machine. So the truth is, the person can rely on that. If he doesn't have handmade, he can use machine-made shmura matzah to fulfill his obligation. Right? That's the idea. Right? So it's possible. It's possible to do that. Yes. So this is a regular garden variety matzah, which is made in Israel. Right, everyday use. Yes. It's for Pesach, but not for the first mitzvah. Right, that's the idea. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. So regarding matzot, this is the way it is. Right, just to now to understand. Right, regarding how much a person has to have that first night. Right, as we said, try to have at least half of a shmura matzah, a big one. 1/3 is also good. If it was hard to have a half, 1/3 you're fine, right? What about for the afikoman, right? The afikoman you eat the end of the meal, so there you can have, like as we said, less, right? 1/3 for sure is more than enough. You don't have to have a half in the end, because why? Because this mitzvah is rabbinical. It's not from the Torah, so therefore we're more lenient, right? So therefore, for sure, in the end, 1/3 is bromat, It's for sure, right? More than sufficient, right? Yes, for sure, right? No question about that. So they say, right, like this, the Chazal, that once you eat the afikoman, you're not to eat anything else. You have to, that's it. Finish the meal. It's the end of the meal. So don't now have dessert and cake and chocolate, and stuff like this. That's not time for that. You should have that before, right? Once you eat this, that's it. You're done. The only thing that a person is allowed to do after he eats the afikoman is to have a drink. Let's say, some Coca-Cola, some tea, coffee, whatever, things like this. Some water for sure you can have, right? Things like this. Some people, by the way, don't even allow these soft drinks also. They only allow water, whatever. But the point is, right, halakhically speaking, there is what to rely on if a person wants to have soda after the afikoman. But to eat something, right, not allowed, right? So what does that mean? If a person did eat something after the afikoman, he should have another afikoman. Because it should be the last thing he ate, you know what I mean? So that's the idea. So in order to avoid this problem, right, try not to eat anything after the afikoman. Try to right, whatever. There's also another halakha which is good to know regarding the afikoman. Right, they say try to eat this before midnight. What does that mean? Midnight of halakha, which is about 1:45 to this time of year. So a person should not make the Haggada so long. It's going to go past that time, because the afikoman should be eaten, the meal should be finished already. By 1:45 it should be done. It's also good to do the halal as well, the fourth cups and everything, right? Everything. You should try to finish, on time. So meaning what? That everything should be done by 12:30. Wrap it up. That's it. Everything should be. That's it. If you want to continue after that to do more songs, singing, Haggada, this and that, all kinds of songs, and you want to discuss more about, how we came out of Mitzrayim, all these kinds of discussions. Very good, right? You can do it in the morning, until the morning, right? Baruch Hashem, right? As we say in the Haggada, right? That's what they did. Rabbi Akiva and his friends, until the morning, they discussed the Yetziat Mitzrayim. It's very praiseworthy. But for us, normal people who need to sleep, so we wrap it up, what I mean, by 1:45, 12:30, and then it's optional. Whatever you want to do, that's already your decision, right? That's you want to sleep, you want to continue, whatever you feel like you're a little bit, jovial, you want to continue more. God bless you, Right? That's very good. So that's the idea, right, with these matzot. So there's also another thing interesting about matzot, right, which is what? The question is like this, right? Okay, we know the first 2 nights, there's a mitzvah to eat matzah, right, for that mitzvah. But what about the rest of the Pesach, right? All the other meals. You know what I mean? Is there an obligation to eat matzot? Let's say I don't want to eat bread, I also don't want to eat matzot. Not this and not that, right? I'm going to eat chadi all Pesach. You know what I mean? That's it. Chadi and, homi, things like this, So the question is, am I allowed to do that? So the answer is yes. Technically speaking, a person doesn't have to have all Pesach matzah. Just for the first 2 nights, right? That's it. Once he did that mitzvah, technically speaking, he doesn't have to have any more matzah. But nevertheless, right, even though he's not obligated, the says the Gaon Mevina, Anyway, it's good to eat matzah throughout Pesach. Even the box, whatever it is, it doesn't matter where it comes from. The box, the box, they're all good to eat. Why? Because there's a special thing during Pesach, right? Which is what the quality of Pesach is that eating matzah improves your soul. There's something that improves your soul there. So therefore, right, one thing is not to harm your soul by eating chametz, and also there's another thing which is to improve your soul by eating matzah. So there is an inyan, there is an issue right there that a person should try to have matzah every day on Pesach, but not obligation, but it's very praiseworthy, because it gives you health, spiritual health.
So we're elevating each other every
Right,
day.
that's it, yeah. So yeah, exactly, right, exactly, yes. So the truth is, right, that if a person wants to do that, eat everyday matzah, this is the proper thing to do. It's very good to do that. And there's all kinds of customs, by the way, around Pesach, right? Some people make barbecues, all kinds of, to make a little party, a little celebration. There's all kinds of things, right? That's very good, very Baruch Hashem, You should have some nice meals during Pesach, right? Not just to eat like a weekday. You know what I'm saying? There should be at least every day one nice meal that you should have every day to celebrate the holiday. Some meat, some good stuff there, some whatever, the good things that people like to eat. Drink wine, drink a little bit here and there, right? All kind of stuff. So this is a very good mitzvah to do throughout Pesach. But obligation, there is not to eat matzah throughout Pesach. It's just a good thing. It's praiseworthy. That's all, right? That's it. That's regarding matzot. Now regarding also we have other mitzvot, right, that we do during the Seder night as well, right, which is Marror also, right? Marror. As we mentioned last week, Marror is not from the Torah. This mitzvah, it's from the rabbis. The rabbis brought this in. Why? Because they wanted to remind us of the bondage, affliction, right, of the hardship of Egypt, right, whatever. So they brought in this mitzvah of Marror. The truth is, right, and in those days, in the time of Beit HaMikdash, it used to be different. What does that mean? They used to eat the Marror with the Korban Pesach together. Bitter herbs, the Korban Pesach, and also the Marror. You understand? And also the matzot. It was a lamb. They sacrifice a lamb.
Oh, that's what we got to do.
Right. Or goat. One or the other, right? Lamb or goat. They used to sacrifice that. So this is the way it was in those days, right? In those days, it was from the Torah, that mitzvah. But now we don't have Korban Pesach. So therefore, the Marror is only from the rabbis. It's just a remembrance of that. You know what I mean? So the question is like this, right? Regarding the Marror itself, what is the proper thing to eat from Marror, right? Which species, which vegetable should you bring from Marror, right? There's 1,000 things that are bitter. The question is, can you use any one of those things, or does he use something specific, whatever? So the truth is, right, that the Gemara in Pesach Pesachim, it mentions 5 types of Marror which are kosher from Marror. There's only 5 species which are kosher. All the other ones are not kosher, So there's also preference, right? There's number 1, which is preferable, more. We have number 2, which is less, a little bit, right? Number 3, number 4, number 1, right? All these things, right? So number 1, right? The most preferable thing to use for Marror is romaine lettuce, which is called in the Talmud. It's called chasa, right? Chasa. So why is it called chasa? There's a reason for that. That what chasa means in Hebrew, it means mercy. That means that Hashem had mercy on us and He took us out of Mitzrayim, right, from the bondage. They call that chasa. So that chasa is romaine lettuce.
But it's not bitter.
Right, it's an interesting thing, right? That's exactly the point. So now I'll explain to you how that works, right? So why is the romaine lettuce the best thing to have? So they say the Chazal, the romaine lettuce. By the way, the whole point is not to have something which hurts you from its bitterness, like shocks you, Oh, that's not the idea. The idea is to have a remembrance of that, right? So they say, right, that the romaine lettuce is the best way to remember. You know why? Because they say the galut in Mitzrayim, right, the exile, it had a certain quality there, right? What was the quality? It started out good. What does that mean, right? The Egyptians in the beginning, they were nice to us. They respected us, right? They considered us to be very holy, very, this and that. As time went on, it became like more degraded in their eyes, more and more and more and more until they enslaved us, afflicted us, right? So they say that the chasa is like, just like the maror, the chasa is like that, romaine lettuce. What does that mean? When you eat from the top, it's sweet. As you go towards the bottom, it becomes more bitter, right? So therefore, this is the best way to remember, right, the bondage of Egypt. So therefore, they say, right, that the chasa is the best the maror that there is. And also, by the way, very recommended. Now, there's also another type, right, that a lot of people use, especially Ashkenazim. And also, I think the Georgians also got into this custom. They probably imported it from Europe, with the rabbis that came from there, right, whatever. So they were using the horseradish, you know what I mean? Right. Chren.
Yeah, the white.
Right, that white stuff. Right. So that chren, right, is also one of the species, but it's not the first one, right? It's not the preferable one. So the question is, right? Why is it not preferable?
Thank you again.
Why is it right that the horseradish is not the preferable one? The reason is because it's very very bitter. It's like super bitter, and it's very hard to eat like a decent amount of that, right? In other words, you eat like a little bit, kazait, olive size, right, exactly. Most of these things are kazait, So to eat kazait of that stuff is very hard. You understand?
Yeah.
So therefore, just because of that reason, it's not good to do that. But also, the truth is, right, that in terms of the order that we see in Talmud, it's not the preferable one. So the question is then, right, one simple question: why did Ashkenazim start to use that? They don't have Talmud? They have Talmud. Don't worry, they know very good Talmud. So then, what's the reason why what it is just a matter of availability. It's a matter of availability. What does that mean? In Europe, they didn't have Rebbein lettuce over there. It wasn't something which was readily available. Today, they have everything. Baruch Hashem. They import. You know what I mean? But the climate over there in Europe is cold. It's not really conducive to growing romaine lettuce. You know what I mean? So therefore, they used to use whatever they had over there. Right? The horseradish was what they had. That's what they used. It's just a matter of convenience and practicality. You know what I mean? So what does that mean? Now the Baruch Hashem, every place in the world has everything, nothing lacking. Sula dagulo. So there's no reason anymore to use horseradish. Understand? Because of all these reasons that we mentioned, and therefore a person, right, should do himself a chesed. Chasad. He should have mercy on himself. God have mercy on us. Also have mercy. Don't eat that bitter stuff. It's gonna make you like your face is gonna turn pale, right? So whatever. You don't have to eat that stuff. There's no reason to get that stuff. So the best way, right? Also, my Rabbi told us, Maran, he told us use romaine lettuce, right? But there's only one catch. Buying romaine lettuce is very easy. Just go to any super, right? They have it there, no problem, right? But you know what the problem is? The problem is that this species tends to have a lot of bugs. You understand? It's infested, generally. So therefore, right, the best thing to do is like this, right? A person who has a car has no problem with this. All you gotta do is go to some main street store, one of these glass stores over there, Wasserman. I'm giving them a commercial over here, right? Giving them a plug, right? Plugging them. So there's also Aaron's, right, in Casino Boulevard, the Bukharian place, whatever. So these places, right, they have special greenhouse grown, which has no bugs, clean. All you gotta do is just wash it under the sink, ready to use, right? So that stuff is very, very good. So a person should go and buy that romaine lettuce in one of these stores, these glass stores, whatever, right? And therefore, right, got nice kosher. It's going to be a little bit expensive. It'll be probably double the price that he usually pays for romaine lettuce. But I think he won't destroy his budget. I think it's not going to break the budget. It's not going to break the bank. You know what I mean? The piggy bank is not going to be broken. It'll pay, instead of paying $2, he'll pay $3, $4. God should have mercy on us, right? Whatever. Okay, whatever. I think it's okay.
So
whatever.
Costco is not good.
Costco, I don't think you're going to find Costco. I don't think you're going to find it. I don't think you're going to find it. The kosher one. I don't think you're going to find it. They have kosher meat there, by the way. They do have. They have kosher cheese. They have a lot of things.
Kosher romaine lettuce, just actually washed.
That means that there's no bugs, right? That's the idea. You know what I mean? It's grown in a bug-free environment, basically, right? That's the idea. So right, but in terms of kashrut, it's everything. Oh, they're all kosher. What does it make a difference? What difference does it make, right? Just they want to eat bugs. So therefore, right, the best thing to do is like that, is to buy one of those, right, and then. Basically, how much do you have to eat for Marror, right? There's a bracha we make, right? Allah kilat Marror. Right. So for that eating, a person would have a kazait, as we said, an olive size. How much is that, practically speaking? Or let's say one big leaf of like large leaf of romaine lettuce, or like two mid-sized ones, something like that. That's probably more or less. You know what I mean? Or if you're having those small ones, maybe like 3 or 4, whatever. So the idea is to have an olive size. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of volume. Weight is also a way to do it, but the volume is also good. The volume is the more original way, actually, right? So the point is, right, if you can see, more or less, that this is the size of an olive, mid-sized olive, or half an egg, whatever, so that's you're good. You know what I'm saying? That's the idea. This is the amount that a person has to have from Marror. So makes it much easier, right, to do this mitzvah with romaine lettuce. Why take the chren, right? The chren is going to choke you, right? Right? You'll be lucky if you get out alive from that incident, right? So what do you need it for? But what's the idea, right? There are still people, by the way, who do it, right? There are a lot of people who do it, but we should go back to the original way. You know what I'm saying? Because now, Baruch Hashem, everything is available. There's no reason to suffer anymore, right? We suffered enough as it is, right? We're suffering believe me, we have enough suffering as it is. There's no more reason to suffer anymore as it is. So that's the idea, right? there's also the issue of karpas, right? That we have before, when we start out, right? The first thing we do is we wash our hands and we eat karpas. We don't make netilat yadayim, no bracha, and we make borei pri adama, right? And we eat karpas. So that karpas, right? Exactly, salt water or vinegar, right? So that karpas is celery. That's what it is. Yeah, this is the best way. There are some people who use other types as well. They use potato or carrots, Ashkenazim again, right? Why is that? Same thing. There was no availability over there. In Europe, they didn't have celery. This was not something which is growing over there. So therefore, they were using potatoes and carrots, but this is like a sorry excuse. The real karpas, the real, according to tradition, is celery, right? That's the real karpas. The original, genuine, branded. That's it. That's the way.
Was right all the time.
God bless her soul. God bless her soul, right? That's the idea, right? So therefore, what should a person do? When you buy celery, right, in the store, there's two things over there, right? There's the stalks and there's the leaves, right? So the leaves, better not to use them. You know why? Because they can also have bugs. So therefore, take the stalk, right? Clean it out good, wash it good. Usually those don't have so many bugs, Just take a good look at it, everything's clean. That's it, you're done, right? You don't have to buy special celery, like romaine lettuce, because romaine lettuce is very infested. You know what I mean? Celery, not so much. The stalks are not so infested. We don't usually find bugs on that. So the point is, right, that's the celery, right? That's the karpas. So karpas, right? Just to mention, right, that a person has to have a small amount of karpas, not a kazait, right? The whole point is the karpas should eat less than a kazait. So what does that mean? When you slice them up for your family, each slice should be less than a kazait.
Okay.
Like half an olive. לא כל הסקיצה. בתיאבון.
Small piece.
We're in the middle, so after. Better. God bless you. So the idea is like this, right? That the karpas has to be dafka small.
No, I'm good.
So why does the karpas has to be small? What's the reason why? Not supposed to have a kazait. Because the reason is that if you have a kazait, now that makes a question whether you should have that make a blessing afterwards as well. We don't want to get into this whole thing of making a blessing afterwards. So therefore, the whole point is, right, that you should have a small amount of karpas. Right, but
which is going to
right, but the whole thing is like this, right? You don't want to make an after blessing. You know why? Because we're going to have marror, and this bracha is also covering the marror. When we sing borei pri adama on the karpas, that's also going on the marror. You understand? So since it's going also on the marror, we don't want to now, right, finish the eating over here, make an after bracha. It's also it's a doubt whether it should be done or not. So therefore, we're like getting into a doubt. We're not sure. We're not sure if some say you should make after bracha, some say you should not. So therefore, to get out of this doubt, don't eat kazait. That's the idea. Eat a small amount, dip it in, right, and eat karpas. This is the way to with the issue of karpas, right? Also, another interesting thing, right, to know regarding the besides that, we covered the matzah, we covered the marror, right? We covered the karpas. There's also the issue of the sandwich that we eat, right? What does that mean? First we have the matzah, then we have the marror, and then we have a sandwich, matzah and marror together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Haggada with you. Me Haggada with you. Okay, right, I'll talk to you soon.
So the question is like this, right? Now regarding the sandwich, what is the reason why we eat the sandwich, by the way? Put it together, this and that, the matzah, the marror, right? And we dip it into the chalrozet. That's the idea, right? What's the reason for this? So they say, right, that there was also another opinion that it should be eaten together, the matzah and marror. The opinion of Hillel, right? Even though that's not the halakha, but just to cover his opinion as well, this is the reason why we eat that sandwich, right? So the question is, when you eat the sandwich, kricha, we call that, right? Kricha. How much do you have to eat? So, as we said, right, kazait, which is like 30 grams of matzah, also there, and 30 grams of marror, right, the romaine lettuce, dip it into the charozat, and that's it, right? That's the eating. Right? There's no bracha for that, because we already made the bracha on the matzah. We already made the bracha for the marror at that point, right? So therefore, there's no special bracha. There's something we say, right, over there. There's like a say we say something. There's no bracha there, and that's the idea, right? This is the way we do the sandwich. So the sandwich is that's the way it's covered. dip it into the charozet, and we eat it like that, right? That's the way it's done. Okay, very good. So besides that, right? What else? What other things that we have on the Haggada? The truth is, right? They say that the most important element of that night of the Haggada, which is a very holy night, by the way. They say, right, that all the evil forces that night are not working. They're on leave. They have paid leave. They're not working. They're shut down. And this is the reason why, right? A person who goes the first night of Pesach goes to sleep. He doesn't have to say anymore, right? All these things, right? Kriyat Shema and all these things. Doesn't have to say. Why? Because that night is a guarded night. It's guarded. It's guarded from the mazikim.
If you say it, it's an extra added
No problem. It's not required. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't need it. You don't need to be guarded that night. That night is guarded. There's no mazikim. There's no evil forces going around, right, bothering you. So therefore, that night, right, since it's called Leil Shimurim, right? It's a guarded night, and this is the reason why, right? That what I want to mention, right? That we what I want to mention.
We don't say Shema.
Right, we don't say Shema, but there was something before that I was saying as well, right? That whatever. Okay, so anyway, we'll get back to that. But the point is like this, right? That we covered the karpas. We covered the right. Oh yeah. So I wanted to also tell you about the meat, right? There's also an issue with meat. What does that mean? That they say, right? The custom is in the communities, most communities, that a person is not allowed to have roasted meat on the first night of Pesach. First 2 nights as well, right? What does that mean? Like barbecue, like something which is made without any oil or any without any water, just like roasted, like dry roasted. The custom is not to have those kinds of things on the first night of Pesach. What's the reason why? What's the reason why?
Has a juice. We're going to his house.
What's the lucky you? Okay, so what's the reason why the custom is not to eat those dried, roasted things? Because they say, right, that it may be mistaken for Korban Pesach. Because that night was the night they used to eat Korban Pesach. So therefore, a person should not eat anything which looks like Korban Pesach. And this is the reason why we have custom, right? So what does that mean? That a person should make that night things which are like made in the pot more, or like made with oil, like things like this, not roasted dry on the fire, barbecue and grill. This is not the time for that. You could have it in the morning.
If it's in aluminum container covered.
Yeah.
And it doesn't its own juice. That's okay?
I think that if it's made with a lot of liquid there, like as you said, like it's okay. If it's, there's liquid there. The truth is that if you put oil, it's really good. If you put oil, what I mean, then you're good.
All right, I'll do it.
But if you make it dry, it's a little bit of a question, But it's a custom, whatever. It's not halakha really, this thing, But the custom is like this.
So it doesn't stay.
Right, that's good. Yeah, that's the idea. So if you make it a little bit oily, or with water or something like that, do you add some water to it also? By the way, some people also add water to their roast. Yeah, that's also yeah. So you're adding you're adding water, you're adding oil. So I think that's fine.
Good.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, whatever. So as we said, right, that a person doesn't eat on that night things which are roasted dry, right? That's the idea. All right, this is one I want to mention. I'm sorry, I forgot. Right, now I just remembered. Just came back to me. Right, they say the most important mitzvah of that night is not what we eat. The most is what we say. Right? What does that mean? To say the Haggada is the most important mitzvah. Right? Because it says in the Chumash, in the Torah, "V'gata lebincha," right? You have to tell us to your children the story, right? Of going out to Pesach. That's the main mitzvah of that night. You know what I mean? It's from the Torah, this mitzvah. And a person has to go, right? Don't go too fast. Don't jump, by the way, when it comes to this, Don't be too anxious. Oh, when are we going to eat? When are we going to eat? Okay, no, I'm not saying to be too slow either. I'm saying don't be a slowpoke either. I'm not trying to tell you, right, to make it too slow or too fast, but say it, everything that should be understood, Explain it to your family, what it means, what it is. Don't just like run through, that's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? It's a very special, right? It's a very special holiday, So the whole specialty of this holiday is the Haggada. To say it over, and there, Baruch Hashem, now we have translations, we have English, we have Russian, we have this, we have that, we have all the languages, right, covered, everything is covered. So therefore, right, whatever language you speak, you're covered today, right? So therefore, the head of the household, right, what should you do? Explain it to your family, Don't just run through it, No, that's not the idea. The idea is to explain.
Who carried the Haggada? The head of the family usually was the minhag.
So there are some families, right, that the head of the household reads the Haggada. That's one custom, right? There are also other families that divide it up because they get tired, whatever. So they Okay, now you take over, you know. Okay, now Jimmy takes over, you know. Then Shara takes over, right? You can split it up like that. Yeah, it's possible to split it, you know. Also, but the idea is like this, right? That everybody should be listening anyway, you know. No matter who reads it, you should be listening also, you know. Got to listen to that. Either you got to listen to somebody or you got to read it yourself, you know. Somehow it's got to get into your head. You know what I mean? That's the idea. So therefore, right, this is the most important part of the mitzvah, and also right to tell the children, to explain to them. Because when the rabbi used to tell us, my rabbi used to tell us that when you explain the story of Pesach to your children, this is how you inculcate into them the fear of God, you know, knowing what is a Jew. You know what I mean? Right, exactly. Judaism this is what essence of Judaism, you know? We came out of Mitzrayim. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Saying that today.
Yeah.
Children sometimes know better than us.
Right, it's true, sure.
They're explaining us.
Right, they explain to you, right, exactly, yeah, for sure. Because they're going to yeshiva, they're going to school, exactly. Yeah. You're right, it's true. But the point is like this, right, that you have to inculcate into the children, you know, tradition, you know? And this is the night to do it. If you don't do it this night, which night are you going to do it, right? When are you going to do it, right? You know, this is the time you're going to run now, you know? Swallow it up and, you know, let's go eat. Okay, you eat every night, thank you very much, you know? This is not the whole point, right? The whole point is that's the most important element, to transmit the tradition that we have, right? From one generation to the generation. This is the night that it's really, you know, the most prominent right time for this transmission. So they say, right, that this is the whole idea, to read the Haggada word by word, explain it to your wife, explain it to your family, explain it to your children, right? The whole point is like this, right? Also, during the Haggada, we have the issue of like making the children, like surprising them. That's also part of the Haggada. How do we surprise them? We do two basic things, right? Okay.
As far as I know,
Yeah.
from the history, a lot of non-Jews left Egypt with the Jews.
Yeah, they converted. There was a lot of converts that came. Yeah, they converted. Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a whole story with that. This whole discussion. We talked about that before, you know, in the lectures over here. We spoke about this a little bit. We can talk about it more, you know, some other time. You know, we'll get this issue. Yes.
Spices.
Yes.
Spices. What do I do about spices?
Very good question. Are you talking as in your house or as a cook, as a caterer?
As a cook for the house. I'm gonna get
right. For your home purposes, right? So the truth is, right, that to be honest with you, regarding this question, it really should be covered. We talk about it now, because this is a very central issue, right? Not only regarding spices, also other products as well, right? So, you know, to be honest with you, there's two different schools of thought over here, right, in the Jewish tradition.
Right.
We have the Ashkenazim, we have the Sephardim. The Ashkenazim, when it comes to these things, products for Pesach, you know, they're much more stringent. They're much more strict with these things. So what does that mean? By them, to use a spice, that means you buy a new package, right? Kosher for Passover, supervision, OU, OP, whatever, right? Okay, whatever it is, right? Whatever is over there, you got the supervision. Don't use any spice, right? They will not use any spice which was opened before Pesach, you know, whatever, these kinds of things they will not use. But the truth is, according to Halakha, it's not like that. This is the custom of the Ashkenazim. Ashkenazim are very stringent on Pesach. They do everything like to the max, you know. They max out on everything on Pesach. We don't have we're not so strict like that regarding these things. The Sephardim are not so strict. So what does that mean? The truth is, right, according to Halakha, if a spice, right, you look into the ingredients, and you say it's like pure oregano, it's pure, right, garlic, nothing else in there besides those things. You're allowed to use those after Pesach.
And which is a mixed spice?
So you see the ingredients, right? You see, right? It's just garlic, right, and whatever, you know?
I know exactly. There's a cumin.
Right.
There's a cumin. There is the oregano.
Yes.
There is coriander seeds.
Coriander, right? Yes.
There is.
It's kosher.
All the spices that are.
Yes. So these things, to be honest with you, even if, according to Halakha, okay, I'm not talking about Ashkenazim now, right? According to Halakha, if a person opened these things before Pesach, he can use them on Pesach as well, as long as he was careful not to put anything in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, he was clean. You know, clean boy. You know, it's minda katzia. You know, that's it. So if he's a clean boy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We're not Ashkenazim, right? We put spices in our food. You know what I mean? Ashkenazim don't put much spices. They put a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit, paprika. You know what I mean?
And sugar.
You know, right? Right, sugar. Yeah, you're right. Sugar and honey, right? Whatever, that kind of stuff, whatever. Right? So we're not like that. We put a lot of spices. So we have no problem with that. The truth is, going to halacha, a person is allowed to use any spice which is a clean ingredients. No monkey business over there.
And I have special
Yeah.
grinder
In about an hour.
for pepper
Yes.
and coriander.
Yes.
I use it only for these two.
You don't use it for chametz.
No.
That's
only
it.
for
No
coriander
problem.
and for
No problem with that, Shava. You're good. You're
Because
good.
once you do the
You're good.
fresh
Black
brown
forces, okay,
pepper
John.
gives different aroma.
Yes. Oh, God bless you. Oh man, you getting me hungry now. You're getting me hungry.
Don't tell us your cooking secrets.
One mouse loses half of its aroma.
Oh, he knows his stuff. He knows his business. Okay.
Yeah,
He's getting me hungry now.
When you like to eat, you know this.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
I like to
So, right, the truth is that, Rabotai, I also want to tell you, right, well, since we got into this issue, let's talk about also other things as well. What does that mean? What about salt? What about sugar? Right? What about things like this, products like this, right? Do they need supervision for Pesach, these things? Salt and sugar, Or let's take coffee or tea, right? Coffee or tea, let's say, You have to buy a special package, kosher for Passover. The truth is, right, that these things do not need kosher supervision for Passover. Not coffee, not tea, not salt, and not pepper.
Some kind of sugar
Yeah.
are refined
Yeah.
through filtering through the bone.
Through bone.
Yes. Some kind of sugar.
So
Right.
don't buy that, buy Domino.
But anyway, right, regular. I'm talking about regular, garden variety sugar. These things do not, according to Sephardi custom, right? We're not particular about that. These things do not require supervision. By the way, regarding salt, there's an issue there. You know what the issue is? That there is actually an ingredient they put in some salts, some packages. It's very common. I don't remember the name of the ingredient, but it's a chemical, basically, right? It's a preservative. So they say, by the way, that this preservative is derived from chametz. It's derived from leaven, right? So a lot of rabbis will tell you not to use that kind of salt, which has this ingredient in it.
Salt in the packages.
But the truth is, right, after investigation, I looked into this last year, right? So what I found was, right, that it's okay, this kind of salt. You know why it's okay? Because it's chemically transformed, this ingredient. In other words, it doesn't have the same form that it had. Right, exactly. It's a derivation process that goes on over there. It's dried up, it becomes dry like a rock, So it loses its texture of the food that it came from. So therefore, it doesn't have any more the properties of that. So halacha says regarding these kinds of things that it's not anymore what it used to be. It's something new now in the world, right? Panim chadashot ba'olakan. It's something. It's a new thing. It's a new creation. So therefore, right, the truth is, practically speaking, these things, as we said, right, salt, right, sugar, tea, and coffee. Also, why now tea and coffee, right? Let's get to that. So the truth is, right, the most regular tea that you buy, right? I'm talking about garden variety, regular tea, right? Standard tea, black tea, there's green tea. There's nothing added there, It's very clean and very pure. So therefore, they don't need a supervision. Like Lipton, things like this, These are kosher for Passover. They don't need a special, kashrut. Also, by the way, when it comes to coffee, most regular types of coffee, whether it's instant coffee or Turkish coffee, they don't need any supervision for Pesach. They don't need it. Right.
I can buy it in Carmel, Turkish coffee.
As long as now the question is like this, right? In Carmel, maybe you're buying it open, right? You're buying it open without a package, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So there, you just gotta be careful, right? That there should be no monkey business going on there, mixing, You know what I mean?
No, they do
Right.
beans.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
roast those
If there's no monkey business, it's okay. You know what I'm saying?
They roast the
Right. He
beans,
keeps it clean.
they put in
Right.
packages. They roast it differently to get different aromas.
Right. I understand
Little
you.
darker,
Right.
little lighter,
Right.
gives it that's
So
what
according
they
to Sephardi custom, these things do not require any supervision, right? And also spices as well. It's pretty much that's the same idea, right? Also, there's regarding this, right? There's also issue with dried fruits as well, right? What does that mean? Like kishmishi, right? Prunes, dates, all kinds of stuff like this, figs, right? So the truth is, right? The Sephardim have a custom to eat dried fruits on Pesach without supervision, because usually they don't have anything in there. There's nothing in there. You know what I mean? The Ashkenazim are stringent about that. Why? Because they say, maybe there was something in there, it wasn't clean, it wasn't whatever. So Ashkenazim don't eat dried fruits without supervision. We eat dried fruits without supervision. Except one thing, right? What they say is a little bit dangerous, which is the dates. Right? I'm sorry, not the dates, the figs. Figs. Legui. So what's the problem with the figs? They sometimes dry it with, they put flour in there, so that kuli.
Another
You understand?
question.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
Homemade preserves.
Yes.
Can I use them in Pesach?
You don't make any chametz in there? There's no chametz in there.
Sugar and
Sugar and
water and fruit. That's it.
there's no problem with them. There's no problem with them.
Cloves considered.
According to Sephardi custom, that's allowed to use.
The cloves, you know the cloves, the besamim.
Yeah, sure. Cloves is no problem. No problem. It's a spice.
I'm using whole for some of the preserves.
No problem. No problem. As long as it says on the package, it's just cloves, nothing else in there, right? Nothing else in there. You see the ingredients. That's it. Right. So beautiful, right? Beautiful.
Rabbi,
Yeah,
good
yeah.
question.
Yes.
I don't promise anything, but I will try to collect some people, gather some people who might be interested in this. Can you repeat this lecture next week?
Yeah, the truth is it's being recorded on Facebook and YouTube, so they can watch it there also.
Really?
Yeah, they can watch on YouTube and just put my name, Michael Danielov, Michael Danielov. You're gonna see on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere. You're gonna see it. I also have a WhatsApp group, that I just started now. So everything is being recorded, inshallah. You're being recorded. Be careful what you say. It can be used against you. Can be.
That's why I was there.
Everything you say can be used against you. Right. God bless you. God bless you. It's all available. A lot of people are watching it already, by the way. A lot of people are watching it already.
I made some things and I didn't use any spices which are supposed to go into dish.
There's no reason for that. No reason for that. Eating bland foods. Tasteless foods. We're not commanded on Pesach to eat tasteless foods. There's no commandment like that. I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't want to disappoint you, but
The main thing is Haggada.
right. I'll tell you also another thing, right? If we have a little bit of time, let's see how much time we have here. We only went an hour. Okay, Baruch Hashem. I'm keeping you here for full time. I'm gonna have to pay you a lot of money for this. Okay. So the idea is like this, Rabbi. I want to also discuss with you. This is a major issue, which we get involved with here, especially the Georgians. We're talking about the legumes, right? Legumes, kitniot. So the legumes, right? It's a big discussion.
Vegetables.
Right, talking not all vegetables, talking about like things like peas, rice, right, corn, right, beans, hummus,
What about green beans?
tahina, green beans, all these things, right? All these things. So the question is like this, right? I want to explain to you regarding the legumes. What is the halakha regarding legumes? We have to know that.
What's up, guys? Huh?
Come join us. Come sit down. So, right, regarding the legumes, Rabbotai,
Right.
there's a discussion in the Gemara regarding that. You know why? Because the rice, right, is also a legume. It's one of the legumes. So what happens is that when you cook rice, it rises. It has like a rising thing there. There's, So you may think it's chametz.
But the rice
You
is
understand?
not because of yeast, it rises because it absorbs water.
That's also true, right? Yes, it's true. So the thing is like this, right? Some people may think, there was a discussion in Talmud about this, that maybe the reason why the rice rises is because it's chametz. It's fermenting, It's like that's the discussion. So the halacha is Talmud decides over there, right, that legumes are not chametz, even though they do rise when you cook them. You know what I mean? But they're not considered to be chametz. So what does that mean? It's not the process of fermentation that occurs with chametz. It's like more like a rotting that occurs, like a rot kind of thing that gets in there. You know what I mean? Right, exactly, right. Soaking in water. So basically, right, all these legumes which do rise in cooking, they're not considered to be chametz. So therefore, the Talmud says they're all mutar, they're all allowed to use these things. And this is the reason why, right, the Sfaradim, they eat rice on Pesach, they eat, right, we eat corn, right? Corn is also legumes. It's also in the category of legumes, right? So all these things are the same category: green beans, right? The hummus, tahina, right? All these, they're all the category of legumes. So according to halakha, all these things are allowed, except one thing, right? That the Ashkenazim don't eat these things. You know what I mean? What's the reason why they don't eat? The reason why they avoid it is because their rabbis several hundred years ago noticed a phenomenon which was occurring, right? Which was occurring in the which was occurring in their food system, right? Which was what? That they used to use sacks to hold these things, right? What does that mean? Rice, wheat, right? Barley. They had big sacks for that, whatever. So they used to reuse these sacks, and they were not so, hygienic like we are today. You know what I mean? So it was reusable. So what happened was that they used to use the same sack for rice as they use for wheat. So what would happen was, once in a while, right, you'd take rice, you find a little bit wheat in there, got left over, some remainders. And this is the reason why the Ashkenazim decided to ban rice, right, for Pesach. This is the reason why. In order to avoid this issue, right, of being mixed together, right, wheat and rice together. Nowadays, by the way, this is not relevant anymore. Not relevant, right? What's the reason why? Because they're not reusing the bags anymore. They're not. Everything is exclusive, right? Everything is very clean. Everything is very organized today. So this issue does not really occur at all. It doesn't exist. This issue, right? So the question is like now, when it comes to Ashkenazim, though, nevertheless, even though this issue doesn't really exist so much today, but they took this custom on as a neder, right? As like a vow, It's very strong. Their rabbis made it very strong for them. So therefore, the Ashkenazim, even though the reasons today are not there for this stringency, they keep it anyway, as a custom, as a neder, That's the idea. So therefore, the Ashkenazim are not allowed to eat legumes. Until this day, they don't eat. You understand? God bless you, right? So the question is like this now, right? What about, there are also some Sephardic groups as well, communities, that also took on custom not to eat certain legumes. Right? What does that mean? The Moroccans took on custom not to eat rice. Right? I think the Georgians are also the same, right? More or less. But I have to explain to you, but regarding the Georgians, by the way, it's a little bit different. So they also, right, took on all kinds of customs in all kinds of places, not to eat this, not to eat that, whatever, all kinds of things. But most of the Sephardi communities do eat rice. We're talking about the Persians, the Bukharians, the Syrians, right? Yeah, they all eat rice. Yes, yes.
But the Afghanis,
yeah.
I heard from a friend of mine who's in wheat business.
Yeah.
They're buying whole lamb.
Oh.
Take the
right.
Make it kosher, the real part.
Yes. Right. Behind it. On the first night, you mean?
Yes.
It's interesting. I don't know how they got this custom. In most places, they're not allowed to do that. Most places, in most communities, they don't do it. We don't do it.
I know for the guys because
right, it's possible. Everything is possible. This is a custom only. It's not really halakha so much. But it's custom not to do that. But the point is like this, right? That regarding what we're talking about. So the question is like this, right? Now with people like this, including us, right? We're also in this category. We took on, we took not to eat this, not to eat that, all these kinds of things. So the question is, what happens today, right? Practically speaking, how does it occur today? Right. I want to tell you something interesting, by the way, that, I spoke to Shalom, our friend over here, right? What's his name? Kviteli? So Shalom has an interesting thing, right? He's from Achal Tziche, whatever. Yeah. So he he told me something interesting. He said that in his town, they used to eat rice on Pesach. Did you know that? Achal Tziche? They used to eat. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're also from there. So he told me, not really. I never was there. I personally was never there. I was born in Tbilisi.
Our ancestors.
Maybe. Right. Maybe, but it's possible.
We were also born in Tbilisi, but our fathers.
Right. So he was there. I think he was there himself. You understand? He was there himself. Yeah. So he told me that they used to eat rice over there in Pesach.
But also the other thing is the milk products.
Yeah.
In eastern Georgia.
Right.
We didn't use
milk products, dairy, right? Yes.
Western Georgia used.
Got it.
They used to make
so what I'm trying to tell you is like this. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, right? That the Georgians don't have a uniform custom for all these things. Right. It depends on the area that you lived in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. There's also, right, remember this guy used to come, the doctor, to our class? What's his name? The doctor used to come? He's your relative. I'm sorry, right. So Amzari also told me that in his town, where he lived, they used to eat rice on Pesach on the last day only. Last day of Pesach. Right. So there's all kinds of things, whatever. So he said the last day of Pesach they used to eat, whatever. There's all kinds of customs, right? All kinds of things like this. So the point is like this, right? That this custom really was not taken on by the Georgians in the same way it was taken by the Ashkenazim. The Ashkenazim took it on very strong. Like airtight, you can't penetrate that. The rabbis told them, don't do it, and there's reasons for that, and it was taken on like as a neder. By the Sephardi communities, it's not so strong like that. It was taken on, as practical reasons. You know what I mean? This area, that area, this, that. According to the region that you lived in and whatever practical issues. You know what I mean?
Some people are strict about doing matza balls.
Right. We talked about it in the beginning. We covered a little bit. That according to Rambam, we said, right? According to Rambam, once the matzah is baked, it's allowed to get wet. No problem, right? The Ashkenazim, some Hasidim don't eat those things. Right, they don't eat, but we do eat, right, soaked matzah. Right, we do. Yes, we don't have a problem with that. So regarding the rice, I want to tell you, right, regarding the rice and the things that a lot of Georgians don't eat that stuff, whatever. The point is that there is actually, if a person wants to eat rice on Pesach, a Georgian guy, he has what to rely on. I'll explain to you why that is. Because once a person leaves the country that he used to live in, right? We used to live in Georgia. Right? We're not going back there, right? I don't think so.
Right.
Not you, not me, not Jimmy. Some people did go back, but most people are not going. We're not planning on going back, right? Exactly, to visit, right? So the point is, right? Since we're not planning to go back there anymore, so therefore the customs that we had over there also left behind. Just like we left the country behind, also the customs get left behind. You know what I mean? So the truth is that whatever the custom was over there is not really so relevant over here. So therefore, right, a person who wants to actually, and also, as we said, the reasons don't exist anymore of the custom. You know what I mean? Because of the issue of mixing wheat and rice together, all these things, right? So the truth is that if a person, also, I'll tell you, my rabbi, Marror, he used to tell us like this, right? That any of these communities who came to Israel, once he left his country that he used to live in, right, whatever it was, once he comes to Israel, he says he could have rice. Why is that? Because now he's in a different country. The custom is different over here. Right? Exactly. So therefore, right, he says, okay, that's very nice. You had that custom in your the home country, right, in your mother earth, right, whatever. Over there, you had it. Now it's something else. You came to a different country. So therefore, the truth is, right, that if a person, I know some people will tell you, some rabbis will tell you, they'll shake their head, but the truth is, according to the dry halakha that we're talking about over here, a person is allowed to have rice on Pesach, as long as he's not Ashkenazi. You know what I mean? So, okay, we'll stop here, right? Then we'll talk, Mr. Hashem. We'll continue more. There's still more to talk about. There's the halachot of Pesach, they never end, It's like you could discuss it like all your life. Still won't finish. Chazak Baruch, thanks for coming. Thanks for the cake and for the brandy and everything. As usual, Shalva spoils us. He spoils us. What can I tell you? We're spoiled, man. I just have to press a few buttons over here. I'm going to take it. 1 second, Shalva.
No problem, I'm patient.
1 second.
It's